Hey guys, welcome to my studio. This is my mix breakdown for James May, Don't Let Go. Comes from the Cambridge Vault and I'll walk you through it real fast.
Okay, so let's get into it. Let me show you what I've done to this track. So first of all, it's on the Cambridge website, which is just full of all these multi-tracks that you can download and start playing around with. Don't Let Go is the name of the track. It's from the To The Sweet album from James May. So you just download the whole multi-track here, which basically shows, boom, it's not big, it's 13 tracks. I've seen much bigger, so very straightforward. This album I've done another multi-track on here, or from James May, and the recording was really nice. So I just imported these into Ableton here. I have my template with some basic groups where I dragged everything in, but I also made a recording of the original, and then I'll let you hear what I did with it. You see 5 prints. I like to print to the track here, which is very easy to do. This means that I have all my mixes and I can kind of compare them, show you how that's done. But this is the OG, so this is just the imported stuff, not panned, no volume changes, just the recording. I'll let you hear it, and then I'll switch to the print 5, which is just very different, and that's my fully mixed version, so you hear the difference.
Did I just see something in your eyes, like a little look of surprise? Was there a start of a smile that...
So you can hear right away, like the bass was recorded on quite a loud volume, I think, so I lowered that. Put a ton of wash on like the guitars and the vocal, and just put it in some sort of a kind of almost a church environment. Added some sound effect to some brightness to the vocal, and everything just glues together really nice, I think. So I'll show you how I did it. Yeah, let's start with the first group, the bass group. There is on every track, on every group, there's this virtual console, which is basically just a recreation of these old consoles. It does all the summing for you, and then it gives you the sound of those old consoles. Not a game changer. If you don't have this, just ignore it. It's nice to use, but not the game changer. It's just fun to play with. Then I always have a TDR Nova on this group, but it's not engaged. And then I have this bass 1, which I will disengage, and then another TDR Nova, which I'll disengage, and I'll just play the group. So there's a bass DI and a bass mic. I mix them both down to -6 dB. They're still central, so I didn't do any panning on this thing. So the bass is really smack down in the middle. And there's nothing going on here except for this virtual console. I need it on all the tracks. So let me solo the group. Let me... So there's a little bit of compression, some distortion. This is a really nice IK multimedia, bass 1 it's called. It's a really cool plugin. It just does some distortion and some EQing and some compression. You can do this all with native Ableton plugins. So just get like a small amount of compression, just a little bit of drive, maybe overdrive or distortion somehow. You can do this with all the native plugins. This just does it all in one, and I really like it, but it's very lightly configured. And then what am I doing with the TDR Nova, which is just an EQ? I'm just lowering, based on the threshold, I'm lowering a little bit here the 80 Hertz, because I don't know, I didn't. Yeah, so it was really boomy to me, so I had to lower it here a little bit. That's all I did. Then the drums group. What am I doing here on the drums group? Again, everything is just happening on the group level, just with the shaker something's happening. So this shaker is just a copy of the track. Just copied it straight away just to make the shakers real wide. So this is just a shaker. And this is them together. You can see I panned one to the 30 to the left, 30 to the right. It's quite a lot. but you have to change the delay on one of them. Otherwise, you just hear them at the same time and your brain will put them together again. So with that delay, you can also put probably an image widener on one of them, but I like to experiment with this. So that is what I did. The rest is just, I panned everything a little bit to the right or left just to give a wider stereo field. So I lowered the volumes on almost everything. So the shakers are lowered by -15 because they're doubled, of course. And doubling is like a 10 dB difference, so you need to lower it quite a lot. I lowered it even further, most of the stuff, because it was quite loud and I didn't want the drums to really drive this. It's really a guitar track to me, so the drums are just there in the background to kind of, you know, keep the rhythm. On the group, what did I do? You'll see this a lot. It's an LA2A by IK Multimedia. It's just an optical compressor, which means that there's a little light in it and there's a light sensor, and if the light goes on, the sensor catches it and then it starts to compress. It just starts to squash everything down so the loud stuff doesn't keep overtaking everything and you can hear the less loud stuff a little bit more, and then it pulls everything up. But it does so in a very kind of a slow way, and then the release time is also quite slow because this light, you know, it reacts a little bit slower. You can also do this with stock plugins. You can use just the compressor in Ableton, which is, where is it? It's right here. I use that a lot. Just put it on RMS because the peak will just hit on the peaks real quick. RMS is a bit slower, bit of a slower attack, so maybe like 30. I don't know. Play around with this because you still want to hear the transients, like the first of the, you know, anything. You still want to have it come through and not have the compressor squash that. So high attack and then high release also. Just play around with it until you get a good feeling. And then what the LA2A also does, it's like an old device that's been modeled here in a plugin. So it has some saturation, or you could use maybe, I think there's like a dynamic tube. You could put this on there and just combine these two, and you kind of can mix on your own LA2A. If you can get this for the cheap, IK Multimedia builds it, UA builds it, Waves builds it. They all have their own version of the LA2A. They sound very similar, and it's just a super nice plugin. You can see that I'm using it a lot. It really adds some warmth. Let you hear the difference. Here's the drums without, so just the drums. And now with. Gives it just a little extra. Really like it. Keys. Let's go to the keys. So what am I doing here? On the piano track, there's just a TDR Nova, which is just taking away the lows because I don't want the lows to be messing around with the bass. You know, the bass is already taking care of the lows, and the keys, the lows are not adding much to the keys here, I feel. Let me just show you. So let me play the keys. Of course there's a small difference, there's some information there, but I don't need it for the track. Like the track doesn't need it to you know, thrive here because the bass is actually filling up all that space with information. So that's why I put that on there. And then on the keys group itself, I'll turn these off and then I'll play you the track and then I'll start turning these on. You can see that. So that is an EQ that just makes it a lot brighter. You can see that I'm actually cutting the low mids because I wanted to leave space for other stuff, and then I'm really pushing the high mids and the high. That's all I'm doing here. There's maybe some compression going on here. Let's see. Well, it's barely noticeable, but it's compressing a little bit, which then I'm also doing again with this white 2A. So it's an LA2A. Let me play you the track without and with. These are the settings. So this is the peak reduction, and then you have to up the gain because you're really compressing the peaks down, so you have to increase the gain with this one. Super straightforward, right? So this is all it does. It's set to compress, which is a 1:3 ratio. Limit is like a 1:10 or 1 to unlimited ratio, but it's set to compress because I don't want to overdo it here. And again, it just adds this warmth, like the tube saturation type feel, which I really like. And I really love this piano. There's like 2 sections, so I really wanted it to kind of hit. I'll let you hear this in the full track right now.
So hard for you to see.
I think it's important. It really adds some body to the whole thing. So guitars, for me, the key to this track are the guitars. So what I did is first on all the tracks, again, nothing, but on the track itself, or on the group itself, sorry, let me turn these off. Let me just solo this and let you hear it a little bit. Okay, so let me turn on the bridges channel, which is again the EQ. What I did with it, again, cut some low mids, push the high mid, push the high, a little bit less than the other one. There's again some compression here going on. That's all it's doing. It's not tons, but it's just bringing out the highs of the guitar a little bit. So let me play it and then I'll engage it while I'm playing it. Okay, so there's quite some saturation coming in there. You know, some really, I don't know, like the high stuff I really needed from the guitar. And then this is VC670, which is an IKEA version of the Fairchild, which is an old compressor. Which, I mean, it just looks super cool, and it's set very, very slightly to compress just a little bit. I'll play the guitar and then I'll turn it on while I'm playing it. This adds a lot of body to the mids, so really enjoying that. And there's these 2 flutes during the chorus. On the flutes, again, there's nothing on the channel itself, but on the group, just an EQ. Let me turn it off, play the flutes, and then I'll turn it on again. Really brings it out again. There's definitely compression going on there. Not enough to actually bump the meter, so you're not seeing it. Same format here, so cut a little bit of low mids, push the high mids, and really push the highs because I want the flicker in the the highs of the flutes. I did some also with the guitars and with the piano. I did some panning. I just like all my instruments to have their own little space. Just like to imagine that there's a band somewhere playing and they're actually in their own space. And it gives them their space so they're not interfering too much with each other. It just brings them out a little bit more, in my opinion. So that's the flutes, super straightforward, just a British channel. And then here we go to the vocals, of course, key. So let me just turn everything off here and then bring it in one by one.
Don't let go of me now.
So I doubled this, so let me turn this off also.
Don't let go of me now.
Very nice vocal. I mean, he has a great voice, so I don't need to do any auto-tuning or anything there. What am I doing? So on this channel, nothing. On this channel, there's a little bit of a delay. Just again to add a delay effect, just to give it like a double vocal here. I'll show you what that sounds like, actually, the track in solo.
Don't let go of me now. Don't let go. Don't let go.
So there's a little bit of a different sound quality to this. It just makes it a bit wider so that the vocal is not too dry. It's a bit wider and more interesting to me. Let me turn that back on. And then in the group, actually I'm not doing all that much here. So there's the white channel, which is just a cleaner version of the British channel, in my opinion. I'm pushing almost everything. So I'm pushing the lows, low mids, highs. I'm pushing low mids quite seriously because they're important to me. Bringing out everything a little bit more. So let me show you this. I mean, very similar setting, very low setting, and then I'm pushing the gain quite a lot here. And then there's a TDR Nova, which is the EQ, which is just cutting the lows, and it's cutting the, what is this, 3K and a lot around it, a little bit on a threshold basis. So yeah, let me show you what they all sound like. So I'll play the vocal and then I'll start engaging all these one by one.
Let go of me now. Take hold of my hand. Walk me to some sweet and holy land.
There you go. And I think we have a really good vocal there. Again, I printed like all these tracks, so I'll show you how I do this. So it's very easy. You just create a track. The input is the main, so the main is the mix bus, and then you have to just send it to an external out so it doesn't go through all this again, through the main again. That's it. I just turn them off. I just record, you know, you have to arm it and then you record the whole track on these things. So I have all my mixes here, and if I want to export one of these, I just engage it, file, export, and then you just select the track instead of the main channel, the track that you want to render, and then you export that. That's it. But I have to turn it off every time because otherwise it's of course playing through my whole song. Okay, so let me walk you through all the sends here. I have just the bass, drums, keys, guitar, vocal, and a delay, but the delay I don't think I'm using. We can see this actually if I play.
So hard for you.
Nothing happening on the delay, so nothing going on there. For the bass, I'm sending minus 25 dB, so not a lot to the bass. And on the bass I have a Caesar plate, which is an IK multimedia. I just use a gold plate. I use a lot of presets because I love them on this. Show you on the advanced settings here what's going on. So very basic stuff. Yeah, nothing special here. Reverb time is quite high. It's really a lot. These are all settings about, you know, pre-delay is very low. These are all settings about the crossover and how we handle high and low frequencies. The size is rather small actually, so a small room. It's just a plate. Diffusion is all the way, so the sound bounces all over the place. Yeah, no echo, so very basic settings, just a plate. I'll let me solo this so you can hear this. Not much, just adding a little bit of vibe. Never put too much reverb on the bass. Drum room, I have a really cool plugin here. This is really worth it, the Farm Stone room. It just has all these different settings where, you know, I can open the curtain behind it. So let me show you the solo. It's just a room. It's a nice sounding light room. It helps these drums because there are a lot of percussion based drums. On the keys, I have another plate with a vintage plate setting. I love this on the keys. It's my default go-to. High reverb time, medium size kind of. Again, no pre-delay here. I could play around with that, but you know, no need here because I want everything to be in your face. Let me just solo that. This will add some additional vibes to the keys. I don't want it to, you know, get too much in the keys, but I didn't have to do anything to the reverb. It's just additional benefit. Also, the keys are just playing twice, so I wasn't too worried about filling up the whole room with reverb. This is just beneficial. The guitars, this is a different story. So the guitars I'm sending here about minus 15, so quite a lot. I wanted a lot of reverb on this. On the keys, I'm sending minus 20, but the guitars I wanted a lot of reverb, so let me just solo this. What I have done is started with another, you know, well, actually two reverbs. So first there's a dual spring, which I'm just using this side of it, the spring B. This is it. Actually, I'm I'm also using a bit of A. You see the blend is here somewhere, just around, you know, it's vibing towards the Spring B. I just love this reverb. It's really nice to use. You could just use a Spring reverb. You can use all the stock stuff in Ableton and get almost the same results. I just love using this. Then I added a hall to it because I wanted it to have this big vibey feeling. So this reverb goes into the hall reverb, which is a large organ church setting. So there's some diffusion going on, high reverb time. Let me see what's going on here. Reverb, big room, you know, big size. Yeah, again, a preset. I love these presets. And now it sounds like this. Very dreamy. Yeah. Then, now it's really filling up everything a lot. So, you know, the guitar is there, and then there's reverb there, and I don't want anything to be conflicting in a way. So I added this TDR Nova because I only want to have this part of the reverb. I don't want to have the lows and the highs because the guitar already has highs and lows and all the other instruments have highs and lows, and I don't want anything to kind of get mushy. So if I'll play the reverb and then I'll engage the highs and lows, or I engage the EQ here. That's all I need, you know? And then I put a compressor on it just to squash it all a little bit. Actually, well, it is it's listening to the acoustic guitar. So this track, let me show you what that sounds like without. So basically it just brings up the sound. So I need less reverb. Vocal, we have another CSR plate. Let me solo that. This is the gold plate again. We saw this before with the drums, I think. This is it. Yeah, that's quite a lot. So I'm sending just a group. I'm sending to that at -15, so a lot. So I'm giving him a lot of reverb, much more than I would normally do. But I really felt like the track needed a lot of reverb to just become warm and rich, and I wanted to play around with kind of overdoing reverb, and I think it worked. So yeah, that's all the sends. Okay, so let me walk you through the mix bus a little bit. First, let me turn all of this off, and I'll explain it just one by one. Here we have the virtual console thing, which it is set to, on all the channels, it's set to a Brit N. And then here on all the groups and the main, it's set to an RC tube, which both are very warm, which I think suits the track. And I have it set up that I can just turn all of them on and off on the flick of a key, and I'll let you hear what it is with and without. So first without.
For you to see. Don't let go of me now. Take hold of my hand. Walk me to some.
Very subtle, like not a game changer, but and I'm still getting used to it. But you know, I think it's an interesting addition, kind of in the midst, this tubey feel. It is just very subtle, especially on this track. Okay, and just let me turn all these on one by one. There's a TDR Nova here, which I'm not using. Then there's a tape machine, which should add some more warmth. Then I have the compressor again, the Fairchild, with a very, you know, it's a smooth preset, so smooth finish. Adds a lot more warmth again. Then here's a limiter just to spread out the track a lot. Here we have it's an imager. Here we have the limiter, which is just set to limit to -1 dB, which doesn't add any, like a lot of limiters will add some sort of a sound quality, and this, in my opinion, doesn't add anything because I've added so much already and I had the sound that I wanted. So this limiter is also just a hard brick wall limiter, which I really enjoy. And then I always have the loudness meter here to make sure that I'm, you know, somewhere in the range where I want to be, and I preserve some of the dynamics. I'm really happy with how loud this song became, while still it's quite dynamic and you don't hear it being overcompressed or anything like that. So let me just play the song and then turn on these plugins one by one.
But I'm broken down, cracked, I feel, and I know that's so. Yes, I know that's so hard for.
Okay, so Tape Machine added a little bit of warmth. Then you could hear that this added a lot of warmth and body to the whole thing. This imager just made it a lot wider overall, which I often like to put just on a channel, just to have one channel. But this song, I think it deserved some more wideness. And then the limiter is just to stay within the range, so you don't hear it do much. But basically it's just a really strong compressor, right? And then this is the final result.
Did I just see something in your eyes, like a little look of surprise?
Quite nice, no? Thank you. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you want me to mix other tracks from the Cambridge list. I'll be mixing tracks probably on a weekly basis, so get back to you soon.